Hey everyone. So we're going to talk about the 10 steps to cutting cords of attachment. I'm Brandy Joy and I'm your host. So I have done this successfully myself and had some crazy experiences with cords. So I wanted to share with you how to do it. All right, so many of you know that I have recently, those of you in my Vibe Tribe community, you know that I have recently purchased a book over this past month called Cut Cords of Attachment, and this is by Rose Rosetree. And you can see I have a ton of notes in here and stuff, and I have effectively done it. It is pretty amazing. So I'm going to share with you how you can do this yourself, because many times people think, oh, you just have the intention and, you can either call in Archangel Michael or do it, just with intention, like putting your hand through. No, it really doesn't work that well. I've done that a few times before. It helps because it does cut some of the psychic cords, but it doesn't disconnect the energetic cords 99% of the time. And energetic cords are much stronger and more powerful than psychic cords, because psychic cords are mental cords, whereas these energy cords are more of almost like a physical thing, right? They have a more physical type of energy about them. They're a little more real. You can actually sometimes feel them physically. These are what I call programs. And it's funny, my brother, he's a psychic, and he always talks about the programs that are running between people and stuff, and how, he talks about this stuff a lot. And she was actually talking about it in the book quite a bit, about the cords are like programs. And it's almost like, it's like when you think about, I've talked about this before, about technology, right? And how technology is a plagiarism of spirit, right? So it works the same way for the most part. So let's say you have a program, right? You have a program running and you get a virus in it. And that virus kind of takes over, and it's like a blip where it just keeps going back and forth between, things. It's like, oh, it's just right here, and it's there, and it's running and it's running and it's running. That's like an energetic cord program that runs between people. It's like something gets stuck and it's this negative energy and it just doesn't want to go away, right? So Rose has a very detailed process of cord cutting, and it works very effectively, especially if you are into energy. It's something you can feel. I'm clairsentient, so it's very easy for me to feel the energy, and so I totally vibe with this from the beginning, right? I've done pranic healing, I've done Reiki, I've done all of these things that are very, I do Qigong, right? So it's all very physical. You can feel the energy, right? You ever made an energy ball, right? So you take your hands and you rub them together, very Karate Kid, right? And then when you breathe in and you breathe out, and you push your hands together and you breathe in and you breathe out. And you'll start feeling this weight between your hands. That's energy buildup, right? So this helps you develop that clairsentience. And this cord cutting, it's effective. It's very effective, in fact. And if you can feel energy and you want to really get in tune with the energy, it'll help you to really feel it, right? So I'm going to give you 10 steps. I'm going to give you 10 steps. She gives you 12 in here. I kind of came up with what I thought. I wrote down what I wrote down and what I felt was like my process from what she said, what she taught. And it's her process, but it's like my own steps. Okay. So it's very detailed, but I'm going to give you the general idea, the general gist of the steps. Okay. So the first step is you want to, just like any spiritual work that you do, any healing work, you want to create a sacred space, of course. And that means you need to clear the room energetically. You need to clear the room physically, if you can just make it a nice clean space. And she says to imagine that you have the violet flame, which is just a violet. You imagine a violet flame in the corners of the rooms and at the windows. And then around the vicinity of the room, just imagine like gold and silver energy flowing around, you know, the room. And so that's like, after you clear and you do that, that's kind of creating your sacred protective space where now you can work, right, and do your healing work. So the second step is to connect with a divine energy. Now, many of you know that I don't look at deities or archangels as physical beings. I see them as energies, as like what Ra Sumaba calls sciences, right? So, for instance, I remember my brother taught me this. An archangel, think about it. Arc. What does electricity do? It arcs. Okay? And my brother always talks about the arc and how it's an energy, electrical field that we ride on. And so this archangel energy is an energy that you invoke, right? You're invoking frequencies, you're invoking electromagnetic energies, you're invoking energy. And that's why many of you know, I got this because to me, this is the symbolism of the matrix, the symbolism of our reality, and how, and I can go into that in another one, right? But it's all about the energy, okay? So you're invoking energy. So that second step is you want to invoke a divine, higher energy. This is more than just like your spirit guides. You want to go beyond that, and you want to invoke something like, and she has ones listed in the book, Ganesh, right? Ganesh, that's the one that my spirit guides told me to work with, and it is awesome. That energy is such a nice high frequency, and when you invoke that energy, all you do is you ask it to come in. You ask it, and when you ask it to come in, you'll feel that vibratory shift, and it's just a different feeling. So this is where your clairsentience really starts coming into play, and you feel that shift right when you invoke that energy. And then finally, after you invoke that energy, your frequency is higher now. It's ready to really start doing some work, right? Hi there. Scan the aura, right? She says, of course, to scan the chakras. And the thing is, you can do this, many of you know you can do this with tarot cards. You can lay the tarot cards out, 7 chakras, lay them on the table or floor, whatever in front of you. Take your left hand, and you can go over those tarot cards as the 7 chakras, and they'll feel the same as if you were doing this for yourself. So if you're working with someone that's maybe on the other side of the world, you could do it that way, where you just lay those tarot cards down, or whatever you want to lay down, but tarot cards to me work the best. And you just scan with your left hand over those 7 chakras of that other person, or you do this over yourself, right? And you can just kind of feel like the different frequencies. And she says that, if you feel anything that like one of them feels like really strong or just something's weird about it, just be aware of that, write that down. And so that will help you to figure out, oh, you know what? Maybe it's here, right? Something like that. So you just kind of do a scan. And then the fourth step is you want to ask a question. This question is very important. You just say, is there a cord of attachment significant enough to be worth cutting between my client and this person, or myself and someone else, right? So you just ask, is there a cord of attachment significant enough to be worth cutting? And one of the things with channeling is, when you're asking a question like this, you want to still the mind even for a split second to get the answer. And the way you can do that is with breath work. So she advises you to, breathe in and out twice, and that immediately the answer will come to you, yes or no. And that worked for me. If you don't know how to do bliss breath, yogic breath, it's just ocean breath also. All it is very deep breathing. So you can hear the restriction of your throat when you're breathing really deep like this. So it's like, all right. So breathe very deep and heavy, and do 2 or 3 of those breaths. And then right when you're done, the answer will come yes or no. Is there a cord of attachment significant enough to be worth cutting between me and another person, right? Take your deep breaths. Answer will come yes or no. And then after that, you want to ask a second question. The second question is, do I have divine permission to facilitate cutting this cord? Again, take some deep breaths and allow the answer to come to you. This is really important because you don't want to try to cut a cord that isn't ready to be cut. Some people can't even have cords cut until after they go through some deep cleansing work, and they get their aura put back into place. It might have fragmentations, different things going on. So you want to always ask permission. Do I have divine permission to cut this cord, right? The next question is, where is it? Where is it? Take your deep breaths. And it will usually tell you in an area of the body or in an area of a chakra. So my first one, I was surprised actually, because I thought it would be heart chakra, but it wasn't. It was my solar plexus. And it's funny because I had seen something where, they said that, the solar plexus a lot of times is one of the most important ones to be cut, because that's usually the one that really gets involved, is the solar plexus between people. And I was surprised at that because, now I'm not, now that I think about it psychologically, and I actually went through this process, but I was surprised because I really thought it would be more heart chakra, right? But it was solar plexus, or even second chakra. I thought maybe a second chakra, right? But this wasn't the first one that came up. It was a solar plexus. So I got permission and they said yes for this one. Now, once you ask the questions, now you want to create a spiritual contract. And the spiritual contract is just saying, I now give permission. You have the person say this if you're doing it with someone else. If you're doing it for yourself, then I now give permission to whatever divine being you're working with, like, for instance, I work with Ganesh, and to the other person, if you're working on them, to cut the cord of attachment between myself and this other person. So there will be no more pulling and tugging of emotion between us, but only unconditional love. And you can kind of make up your own spiritual contract. That's what she gives you to do. I now give permission to Ganesh and to myself to cut the cord of attachment between myself and this other person. And that just helps you to create the contract. Okay, this is going to be done, and it really sets things into motion. The next step is where a lot of my energy work comes into play that I'm experienced with, and I loved this, right? So she said you can use I should have grabbed my selenite wand. I have a few selenite wands, and I believe they're all in my bedroom. All right, so you can use a selenite wand, or you can use a crystal quartz wand, something like that, or you can use your hand. Now, Rose says that she uses her hand, and I actually used my hand because I have found that a lot of my work is very effective with just my hand because, they're tools. They're great tools, right? So what she says is you take your hands and you go like this, right? You want to make like a hole in the middle. Can you see that? Right. Try to make a hole right in the middle, right? There we go. So you have a hole there, right? So that's an energetic hole because the palms of the hands are very powerful and you want to allow the energy to flow through. And so you're taking your hand. I use my right hand because my left hand is my receptive hand, and that's what she says. Use your left hand to scan, and then whatever other hand that you feel is more like your hand that you use to write and do things, it's more of the masculine hand. I use that to cut. And so you take your hand and you go into that cord, you visualize the cord, you feel the cord, and you go around it 3 times. I actually went more than that. She says 3. I did more than that. I really felt like I was cutting through it, and you go around it, and then you literally start pulling it out, and you throw it into the violet flame, one of the violet flames that you have placed into the room, right, with your imagination. So once you start, you pull it out and make sure that you really feel like you've pulled it out. Oh, sorry. Once you cut it, you clap. Sorry. She does some clapping, right? And she does that like through the cord, wherever it might be, just feeling like it's really clapping through it. And then that's when she pulls it out, right? And then you want to throw it to the violet flame. Make sure you pull out anything remaining, and yeah, then you want to bandage. So to bandage, you can use something like a crystal, like a gate. I think I'm saying that right. I think I'm pronouncing that right. It's called a gate. I might be wrong, but you can use something like that, or you can just use your hand and your imagination, right? So now when you do this, you will put your hand over, like you could put your hand or both hands over that area where you cut the cord. And then you're going to start choosing something that you feel could be healing for you. She says stones are good. Some people like to choose flowers or something else. Stones, I'm fine with stones. So you just start imagining, okay, that you're going to, I'm going to place a stone, an emerald within this, area to help bandage it. And so you imagine an emerald stone there in that area. And then as you do this, you take your hands, they're on that, whatever that chakra might be, or area of the body. And then as you call in these stones, you actually start moving away with your hands, right? So I now call in a diamond, right? Or, a 400, I think you said 400 carat diamond, right? And you just start, I call in selenite. I call in, and then as you're imagining these things building up into that area that was opened up through a cord, you move your hands away, right? And that allows it to expand, the energy to expand. And you're imagining these beautiful colors, right? Expanding. And this helps to bandage the area. Now, once you get to that point, you want to have a second deity that you're working with, right? And remember, I don't see deities as entities. I see them as energies. So she gives you a list of different ones that are really good at bandages and protection. And she says that, for instance, Raphael is a really good one. So she says, or, Gabriel is another good one. She calls in one of those archangels. She says, Archangel Raphael or Gabriel, have this bandage be with me for 3 days or better until this healing is complete. Thank you. Right. So at that point, you have now requested help from an energy to help create a healing of that area. And then once you get to that point, you want to thank, the archangel or in the whatever deities you called in. And then the final step, to me, she had a few more little things, but to me, the final big step really is creating a dialogue, what she called a dialogue box. I would say a dialogue journal. So what you're going to do here is you're going to have like a little journal and a pen, and you're going to have a conversation in a way. So what you do is you're channeling at this point. You close your eyes and you can put your hand there in that area, the left hand, to be receptive. And you want to pick up the cord program that was running. Now, when you pick up this cord program, you're gonna be getting messages. This is clairaudience. It'll start coming through the channeling, right? Because you're really tapped in at this point. So even though the cord is gone, right? The programming is still, you can still pick it up just the same. You can still pick it up, and it's actually been pulled out. So now it's like kind of there, the energy. So you're going to go to that area and you're going to allow that conversation, that program that's been running, to come through, and you'll just write the dialogue. You'll say, okay, let's make up some names, John and Sue. Okay, so John and Sue have program running. They have a cord, a negative cord that we have pulled out and we've thrown into the violet flame. So now we're going to channel what was going on in that program. And so you'll write, you know, John, write J, and then for Sue, write S. And you'll just write down. And when you're working with a client, works just the same, right? This is the same thing that I do when I work with my clients, is I get the clairaudience, I can hear things, right? And if you really allow it to come through and you're relaxed enough, you'll realize clairaudience is not as hard, you know, as you might imagine. If you've never done it, it's not that hard, right? So you'll write, you know, the J or S, and you write J and then what they said. Or you could just write, you know, what they said, and then, you know, is that John or Sue? And then you write the J, and then, you know, maybe J said something again, and then Sue said something. And so you're just going to keep dialoguing in your journal, you know, as that dialogue is happening in your head, you're channeling it. And so now you know what that cord was that was running. And what the really cool thing is, oh my God, right? I did 2 of them. I got permission for 2. And this is really important to get permission. I didn't get permission on my third cord. Now, the 2 that I did get permission for, they were related perfectly, the dialogue. Now, remember, I'm channeling, so I'm not thinking about this. I am just literally writing whatever is coming into my mind in the voices. And then I actually could, after I did it, I went, oh my God, that's solar plexus issues right there, right? And then the second one I did was throat chakra, and that was total throat chakra issues between 2 people, communication issues, right? And the solar plexus was power issues, control and power issues. So it was power issues, and then throat chakra is communication and perception issues. And those were the 2 dialogues that came up for me perfectly. As I'm channeling, I'm not thinking about anything. I'm just writing. And it's amazing when I see this channeling happen so easily. And it's just like when I work with the cards, a lot of times I'll channel the message and then I'll read the cards and I'll get the same thing. It's awesome. I love that. Instead of doing it the backwards way where you pull the cards and just read the cards, you channel the message and then you do it, just for good practice for channeling. So that is the process for cord cutting energy cords, like programs, like negative programs. All right. Uriel, yes. Oh, cool, Amanda. Awesome. I was kind of looking at some of your comments. Does anybody have any questions before I go? I wanted to share that 10-step process with you that I did, and it worked amazing. And I felt a huge difference afterwards. And the next day I was like, wow, you know, it was really great, really great. Very effective, you guys. I would highly, highly recommend that you maybe get her book and try this out. If you're wanting somebody else to do it for you, let me know. I want to do a few sessions to try it out on some other people beyond myself. So yeah, anyways, I really want to get into doing this more, because for me, it was super effective, really lightened me up quite a bit. Yeah, energetic cords, karmic cords. I don't know if it's considered karmic cords. I don't really know anything about that, but they're energetic cords. They're like programs, negative programs that keep running over and over. So it's like, okay, if you get into an argument with somebody, and I mean like a deep argument with somebody very significant in your life, not just like an argument with somebody, but like something that is like a big issue in your relationship. And you don't even ever have to actually physically say this stuff, but it will go back and forth between you two, like this dialogue, you know, like, I don't care about you, or, you know, why don't you care about me? Why don't you love me? Well, I do love you. You just don't accept it, you know, something like that. And it just kind of keeps going back and forth, these different things that are being said. And it's usually like a little bit of dialogue, and then it stops, right? Because it keeps replaying over and looping through this cord, just keeps looping back and forth between these 2 people. And so, you know, that creates a stagnation in the relationship, and a stagnation energetically between the 2 people, and they feel this negative energy between them, right? So it's a very negative type of thing in any relationship. And when you cut a cord, you're not cutting the relationship off. You know, it's actually a very healing thing, no matter the relationship. You can cut cords with anyone, including people that have passed on, because energy never goes away, right? Mirroring is karma bouncing back and forth. Okay, that sounds interesting. Okay. Ida says, why would they decline permission? Oh, Ida, I think that was you that I was trying to respond to on Vibe Tribe the other day, and I couldn't. I wrote a comment, and it was like, oh, no, you're blocked. You can't use groups, so I couldn't respond to you the other day when you were talking on there. So they would decline permission if the cord was not ready to be taken away. And it can be for many reasons, including karma, right? If you have certain things that need to be worked out and that cord has a reason to be, because you actually have to do something to learn something. So let's say you have this cord, and this cord is a heart chakra cord, right? And you haven't learned something about love. And that other person and you have this karmic contract to learn something about love with each other. And this cord is replaying because you need to learn something from it. It's not ready to be released and just let go of, because it's actually there. It's going to teach you more of a lesson, you know? So yes, these cords can teach you lessons sometimes, you know? There can be reasons why they are there. They're programs. So sometimes it's just not ready. And it could be for multiple reasons. But that would, to me, be the main reason. Is just that you have something more to learn from this cord. It's going to keep going until somebody says something, right? Or somebody does something. It has to create this. It's like, hey, pay attention to me. You got to do something about this issue in the physical realm, not just get rid of it. You actually have to work it out. You know, there could be this reason behind it all, behind the scenes, that maybe we don't even know why, you know? I hear gunshots. I think there's a lot of negativity in the world right now, that's for sure. Yes, yeah, Ida, yes. Do you think that is clearing a path, Amy? Communication issues, yeah, you could have a cord for sure. I don't really understand the question, Amy. Can you rephrase that? Do you think that is a clearing path? I think that it helps clear a path. Maybe I don't really understand your question, though. You might want to re-ask that. The more open-minded you are, the more people with narrow views or cognitive dissociation has created karma or energy, channel their problems. This is a long conversation, Amanda. Keep the energy neutral. Okay. Do you put content out there, Amanda? I mean, it sounds like you have some knowledge. Maybe you can share a video in our Vibe Tribe community, or you know, if you teach, or if you wrote a book or write articles or anything. I'd love to hear from you. That's a lot to read on here, though, because it's kind of cut off on the end, and if I try to read it out loud, I'm not sure. Okay. All right, cool, you guys. If you have any last questions, I'll give you another second here, but I'm about to sign off. It's getting late. Thank you for joining me. Okay, cool, Amanda. Awesome. And just so you know, I can't respond on Vibe Tribe until November 6th on Monday, because I am blocked from groups on Facebook. I don't know why. But anyways, I will respond to you on Vibe Tribe on Monday. Feel free to post in there. I can still like things, I've noticed. I just can't comment on them, and I can't post. So I can still like your stuff and, you know, see your stuff, but I can't interact with it much. Oh, Cindy, you can watch the replay. It'll be posted in a few minutes. No, the attached person does not need to be there for the process at all. They don't need to know anything. In fact, they can be, you know, dead, really. Oh, very cool, Amanda. I'd love to see some of your stuff. Feel free to share that with me. And with Vibe Tribe, of course. So Amy says, clearing a path. I don't understand the question, Amy. Amy says, for your soulmate. Oh, I see what you're saying now. You're asking me, does it help clear a path so that your soulmate can come to you? That's a good question. Possibly. I'm sure it could do many things for you, because once you get rid of negative programs, it would create more of a clean energy, probably better law of attraction stuff going on, right? Because now you have cleaner energy. So now you can attract and manifest things probably much better, because you don't have this cord kind of pulling on you all the time and making you think about it. See, that's the thing, is you'll notice you have a cord when you keep obsessing over something, or a person keeps just popping up in your head and you're angry at them, or they've done things to you, have abuse issues with them, or trauma, you know. So any type of negativity that just keeps coming up, like feelings or anything over and over again, that would be a negative cord of attachment, which is a negative program that's running, which would create a lot of negativity in your energy field. And so yes, that would make sense for it to, yes, clear a path, maybe attract better things. And this is why I feel like I have ended up getting into this, is because I've had so many people come to me, and I've hypnotized people that had blocks, and I didn't know really what to do with the blocks. They had these like, oh, I feel this weird pain, you know, and I'm like, oh crap, you know, or I'm working with them and I'm reading for them, and I'm like, I'm seeing a lot of negativity here. I'm seeing a lot of negativity in your love life, and I'm not seeing it get better anytime soon, you know. And I feel like those are because of cords. I really do. And that's one of the reasons I was very drawn to this, was because of those blocks that I keep sensing in people. It's like I'll be working with people and I'm like, geez, they have something going on. It's like negative programs that are running that aren't letting them go free and move on with their lives. So yes, Amy, I think that's a very good question. And I do believe that strongly, that it does clear a path. Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. Oh, cool. Thank you, Sonia. What about love lost? What about love lost? I'm not really sure about the question. Wow, very helpful. Thank you. Look to your guides. I say do the process. Do the process. Ask your higher self permission. You know, ask permission in general once you invoke that frequency, and you'll get the answers. You know, you don't have to go to your guides about this. Okay, because sometimes guides can be more ancestors and stuff, and so they're a little bit more like just people that we talk to around here, honestly. So, you know, you got to be a little careful with the guides sometimes, because they can help out, but you got to know who you're talking to. It's better to raise that vibe and then ask in that divine presence under meditation, under trance. You know, you get some really clear answers that way. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You know, if there's, unrequited cords, any type of cord. Love that you feel for a person long gone alive, though. Well, if there's a negative program running, you want to cut it. Definitely want to cut that. Yes. Put out the intention. The ego can be a tool depending on your situation. The ego can't be like, but transformed. Reading. It's still energy. I can't die, just evolve. Oh, it can't die, just evolve. Yeah, exactly. Or devolve. Oh, lovely to meet you. I have done many cuttings. Oh, very cool, Rosetta. That's awesome. Do you do that process that Rose teaches with the hands and doing all that fun stuff, all the energy work? Is that how you do it? Feels like pregnancy, like he lives in my womb. Oh my. Yeah, you have a very, very strong, that's a past life usually. When you can feel them that strongly, a lot of times that's a past life. And it can be a hook too, like an ego hook in there as well. There's a lot of different things that could be going on. Do it with your mind? Okay. Very cool. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining me. It was a really fun conversation. Very interesting things being said here in the comments. Feel free, if you're watching the replay, to read some of these awesome comments. You guys are great. You know, I love having so many light workers on my team here this this incarnation. You know, we have a lot of fun, and we do a lot of healing, and we help each other a whole lot, and it's great. It's awesome. So thank you for joining me, everybody. Feel free to share this with anybody that might need a little help with cord cutting. And if you have any questions, I'd love to hear from you. Love and light, everybody. I'm Brandy Joy. You can find me at brandyjoy.com and Brandy Joy TV on Facebook and YouTube. And I will see you on Monday for our tarot scope of the week. And if you want a reading, just hit me up. You can contact me on Facebook. I do all kinds of readings. I do astrology, evolutionary astrology, where I tell you about your life purpose and a lot about your path. And then I also do tarot readings and hypnosis for past life regressions. So y'all have a wonderful rest of your evening. And I still have my Halloween stuff up here, but I didn't dress up tonight because it's November 1st. So I can't do that anymore. I can't go with the holiday spirit after it's done. I dressed up last night, and I was like, oh man, I don't get to dress up anymore this month. Kind of sad. All right. Thanks, everybody. All right. Watch the replay if you signed on late, and let me know if you need anything. Talk to you soon.